Hello, my name is Tracy Long. I am in Dr. Hollingsworth 6601 course, and I did my lesson on 6th grade mathematics, and the topic that we'll be learning today will be ratios. The unit that I have created is based on the Georgia Performance Standards, and there's 3 standards that will entail this unit. The first one, the students will understand the concepts of ratios and be able to use the language to describe a ratio. And then secondly, they will be able to use ratios to solve real-world problems and be able to apply that to various different problems and diagrams and different ratios. And then finally, students will be able to also divide multi-digit numbers using standard logarithm. Here are the students' goals for understandings in this unit. I want the students to understand the concept of ratios, develop the knowledge for the language, be able to apply the ratios in real-world scenarios, make sense of the diagrams in terms of ratios, and also understand the steps of the standard logarithm for using multi-digit numbers. Here are the essential questions I want each student to be able to answer. First, they need to know the 3 different types of ratios or how they can be expressed differently. Secondly, they need to know what word is used to describe a ratio when you're speaking it. Additionally, they need to know that the greatest common factor is used to simplify ratios. You simplify it by the numerator and the denominator. Given 3 consistent ratios, what type of line should be graphed? That would be a straight line. They'll understand the ratios and how they are useful in real-world situations. And they'll know the process of dividing standard logarithm and how the standard logarithm will apply to real life for them down the road. Alright, so for my Understanding by Design Stage 2, the goal for the students is to understand how ratios apply to them in real-life scenarios. The audience is 6th grade math students, that will be my class, and the role is mathematician investigators. The investigators will search for ratios they use in real-life situations. Once a ratio is discovered, the investigators will video themselves performing and calculating the ratios while using the correct language to describe a ratio relationship. The mathematician investigators will develop questions, similar to the ones seen in class, related to their scenario. For bonus points, students will continue to video themselves calculating a real-world example of division with multi-digit numbers using standard logarithm. Here is the rubric that I created for my students for UPD 2. Feel free to pause this to take a further look. Here is the snapshot of the web quest I developed for my students. It has them comparing 4 different NBA players. They have to go find the ratio that they're looking for based on the player, and then they have to compare which player is the best based on the ratios that they found. For Understanding by Design Stage 3, my task is to teach students through the interactive whiteboard about the concepts and how to use the proper language to communicate ratios. Additionally, we'll use various interactive technology activities to help the students use logic and reasoning to solve real-world application. And additionally, they'll use multi-digit division standard logarithm. Here is a list of all the technologies that will be used throughout this unit. First, the interactive whiteboard will be used to teach students the logic and the reasoning. And secondly, we'll use mental case for flashcard use to help students be quick on their thinking. And then also we'll use an interactive PowerPoint game, which will be a fun activity for the students, as well as Educreation app will be used to allow students to kind of teach themselves and also teach their classmates in a language that is easy for them to understand. And then lastly, we'll use computers to use a web quest, and the web quest will help them think for real-life application. Here is the organization matrix for this lesson. It is based on a 7-day schedule with 50-minute classes. On Monday, we'll start the lesson hooking the students with the introduction video, and then we'll lead into an interactive whiteboard lesson, introducing ratios and the language used with ratios. On Tuesday, we'll start a class with a mental case competition, and then wrapping up the lesson we started on Monday with the interactive whiteboard. Wednesday, we'll again start class with a competition with mental case. I think students will be really involved in that and enjoy the competition. And then secondly, we'll finish another lesson with ratio diagrams, and then we'll let students work on an interactive PowerPoint game that will reinforce what they've learned in the lessons, and it will be just a fun way to finish the day on Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll have another lesson about multi-digit division, and of course that will again use the interactive whiteboard. On Thursday, we'll also begin our EduCreation project. Students will all be assigned a different lesson to teach other students about using either a tablet or an iPad. On Friday, we'll finish up the EduCreations and then begin on our web quest. And those, of course, will use computers. And on Monday, we'll finish the web quest and allow students to review for the test on Tuesday. Some of you may ask, why use an interactive whiteboard? Well, based on the research, it is a great asset to the classroom. 77% of teachers agree that the interactive whiteboard helps their students learn. The different visualization contents is a huge advantage for educators' presentations and allows the educator to draw the student's attention and gain the retention and understanding. With interactive whiteboards, it also means that the understanding is checked more frequently or asked more frequently in the classroom instead of just a teacher standing up there talking or lecturing the whole time. A 9th grade teacher in Maryland says that what makes it worthwhile is the interactive features in getting kids at the board to connect with the material. Because on the whiteboard you can present it in a way you cannot with a chalkboard or an overhead projector. Again, you may think, why use a web quest? But web quests have proved its value to educators and students. When students are sent out to do a research project, they're overwhelmed with the amount of information that's available to them. And it's hard for them to decide what's reliable, what's not reliable. So teachers use WebQuest, which is a great tool for them. First, it presents students with a motivational task which is realistic to them, so they see the value in it. Secondly, it provides a great framework for the students. And then thirdly, it gets them collaborating together. Usually their WebQuests are done in groups, so it's a great way to get them to work together. And Amy Benjamin from our textbook said a great quote that I think is worth mentioning. WebQuest directs students to sources that will yield the targeted information and transform what would be otherwise a dull task into an information adventure. And here are the references that I used for this project. 3 of them are peer-reviewed and 2 of them are not. Thank you so much and have a great day.